Alright, what the heck is this?
This is Jeremy Johnson, Candace's
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend, little Susie's older
Yes.
brother, and a disgusting, manipulative gold digger.
What? Who hurt you? Who hurt you that you see this man and you think he's a piece of shit?
You see, his sweet feelings for Candace are nothing but a lie. He's not really interested in her. He never was. On
Why you make him look evil?
the contrary, he created this perfect facade and kept up this nice
What?
guy act to manipulate her and get closer to her family. Her brothers in particular. You
What?
thought his little sister was evil? Well, think again. Jeremy is even worse. But let's proceed one step at
Alright, alright. I'm calling bullshit, but I'm giving you 20 minutes to convince me. Let's go.
a time, shall we? People just don't talk enough about how quickly Candace and Jeremy became a couple on the show, or even how little they interacted beforehand. In fact,
Yeah, no shit, they're teenagers. That's how it happens.
in the very first episode of Roller Coaster, not only does Jeremy not recognize the boys, but also, and more importantly, Candace needs to tell Stacy who this Jeremy guy even is. She has to
okay.
describe him to her, as Stacy has no idea who she's talking about. So, although the two lovebirds have known each other ever since grade school, as Jeremy once explained, they hardly ever interacted, and the guy
Okay.
barely acknowledged her existence before this episode.
So far,
Hence why
normal.
Candace considers the day Jeremy brushed up against her in the hall as one of their most meaningful moments together, or why she found it groundbreaking that he smiled at her last time she saw him at work. Yet suddenly and out of nowhere, as the summer begins, Jeremy starts showing great interest in Candace and wants to make things official with her so incredibly quickly. Really, their summer vacation started around June 3rd, and the two officially became a couple on June 21st, which is possible, of course,
Yeah.
but it's weird that he went from seeing Candace as a complete stranger he barely even smiles at, to falling head over heels for her and calling her his girlfriend in just
Completely normal.
18 days.
Nah, completely normal. It's happened in a day. Come on.
Why just now? And especially, why so suddenly? If it took Jeremy less than 3 weeks to confess his love for Candace, then he must have seen her in the best light possible, learning how kind, generous, and pleasant to be around she is. But that's not the case at all. During those 18 days, Jeremy only saw Candace at her very worst. In case you didn't know, the show isn't told precisely in chronological order, and sometimes multiple episodes take place on a single day, yet despite all that, because of its writing, Season 1 still mainly focuses on the first few weeks of summer, meaning
Was it actually only 18 days? Wow, that's crazy.
this is where Jeremy formed his first impression of Candace, given how he didn't really know her before. The thing about Season 1 though, is that its formula always sees Candace embarrass herself whenever Jeremy's around. And because of that, the girl inevitably ended up looking insane from Jeremy's perspective. The guy only saw her semi-neurotic side, yelling at her brothers, being hysterical and overreacting at everything. He once saw her act like a gorilla, then like a robot, saw her laugh uncontrollably multiple times at a single joke he made minutes before, saw her creepily stalking him time and time again and secretly taking pictures of him, and he was told Candace built a freaking shrine to him in
Ew.
her room. How
Okay, minus the last one. Yes, so what? No shit, no one's perfect. Who
did
cares?
none of that?
If I remember correctly, there was an episode where Candace had to wear like an embarrassing suit for her work, and he tried to make her feel better by showing that he had to wear like a winter hat for his work. Like, yeah, you have to do embarrassing shit. It happens. He's a chill dude.
Creep him out.
Candace, you're really kind of freaking me out.
Oh yeah, Jeremy, no one makes a corn dog like you.
And what about the time
I didn't catch that as a kid. That is a wild line.
Candace accused Jeremy's little sister of being a monster, calling her evil and a sick creature right in front of him, acting like a crazy person saying she's out to get her. Of course, we know that's all true, that's Susie for you, but Jeremy doesn't know that. In his eyes, Susie is an adorable, regular little kid who wouldn't hurt a fly. Why on earth would he even talk to Candace again after she said all those awful things about his sister? How could he still ask her to become his girlfriend days later? Maybe
Well, let's see. He's a teenage boy and she's a cute redhead. That's it. I solved the mystery.
months after getting to know her, he could have changed his mind, but only 18 days passed. He would always justify everything she does and forgive her in a matter of seconds. How could he forgive and forget that quickly? He always just lets it slide.
Off the couch. Go on. Get out of here. You heard me. Hit the road, meat brick. You were saying?
I was saying, you can really tell a lot about a person by the way they treat animals.
True.
Plus, because the show basically never omits a thing when Candace's summer is concerned, then we can't even assume some romantic moment between her and Jeremy happened off screen or anything. Meaning weird, crazy, anti-Susie Candace is the only Candace Jeremy knows. So, what's going on? Something's clearly off. Why was he in such a rush to become her boyfriend when she seemed like a walking red flag from his perspective? We're talking about his perspective, not mine. What possibly could have happened at the beginning of their summer vacation that could have pushed Jeremy closer to such a weird girl, convincing him to let slide each and every single one of her flaws? Well, of course, that's also when Phineas and Ferb became famous for their antics in the tri-state area, isn't it? They've built some impressive stuff before, but given the conversation between Candace and Linda in the first episode, it's clear their previous inventions were on a much smaller scale, while their crazier schemes and ideas only started this summer. Meaning the town is just now catching on to what they're truly capable of. And so is Jeremy. Obviously, along with Phineas and Ferb's fame, also came
Alright, I see where the video's going. I'm not convinced, but I see what the angle is. Let's see.
lots of people looking to exploit them. Quite a few leeches try to take advantage of their innocence and kindness for personal gain. Notice how mere hours after word of their latest invention gets out, there's often some businessman, investor, news reporter, or even football player interested in buying or getting their latest invention for free, sometimes even hoping to gain visibility or fame from it. A prime example of this is the executive for Hugo Records, the recording label, who plan to use Phineas and Ferb's One Hit Wonder song and its rights to make live CDs, DVDs, podcasts, and even digitally recreating their images to make their own sitcom.
I hate that that's more relevant than ever now with AI.
All without paying them a cent. The boys don't feel like they're being exploited since they don't really care about the money, and since they know they can build some groundbreaking machine anytime, any day, and make thousands of bucks from it. But this doesn't change the fact that they're still giving away perfectly functional inventions or thriving businesses. So people have indeed taken advantage of their doings to get something out of it. And this is exactly what Jeremy's after. Just like all those freeloaders, Jeremy too must have picked up on just how lucrative Phineas and Ferb's doings are. Perhaps thanks to his dad. After all, Mr. Johnson is an engineer, so someone smart enough to realize the boy's endless potential. So he would be more than capable of opening Jeremy's eyes to just how profitable what they do can be. After all, wasn't it Jeremy who pushed Candace to take advantage of her brother's one-hit wonder fame and use it to become a successful singer herself? Evidently, the thought of using them did cross his mind. So, realizing what a goldmine Phineas and Ferb are, the guy would just have to get closer to the Flame family, through Candace, to take advantage of their brilliant minds and get a piece of the action before someone else does. Think about it, it would be pretty damn hard to justify Candace's apparent insanity if he was in a relationship with her because he loves her, but if he's in it just for the money, then who cares how weird she is? But come on, are we to believe such a wholesome person would use Candace to profit off of her brother's doings? He's literally the perfect boyfriend after all. Always so sweet, always siding with Candace, justifying her weird busting schemes, always doing whatever she wants him to do. He almost sounds too good to be true, right? Exactly. He is too good to be true. Really.
Nah, he's a flawed guy, come on. Remember in the movie when he was making spears and then Stacey's like, oh, you're prepared for the apocalypse already? And he's like, what apocalypse?
Are we sure that's real love? It's easy to mistake a supportive partner for an enabler and a mindless yes man. Jeremy doesn't encourage Candace to grow, providing emotional support. He simply avoids conflict. He never tells her when she's in the wrong. He notices her flaws and just puts up with them. For example, first he says he's glad Candace is not one of those people who freak out just because someone cancels a date, although that's exactly what she did and always does, freaking out about the tiniest, mildest inconveniences. Then, when Candace leaves him midday to go bust her brothers, he's perfectly fine with it, and even on New Year's Eve, he tells her she doesn't need to drop her obsession with the boys because he likes her just the way she is.
Nice.
When that's the very obsession that's very clearly tearing her apart. He allows her to continue her self-destructive pattern of behavior, never questioning her choices or the things she says. He doesn't love Candace, he puts up with her, and that's because he's after something.
I wonder what. He's a teenage boy. I wonder why he puts up with the crazy shit he does.
No, not that.
Yes. No, yes, that.
Sickos. It's the
No, that is the answer. That is the actual answer.
money, the fortune
No.
her brothers can make him. Those boys may be kind enough to give away an invention or two for free every now and then, but they wouldn't really do it more than once with the same person, allowing some rando to consistently profit off of their creations. It's always a one-time thing. But that's not the case for the people they're closest to. If it's their family or friends, then they gladly jump into action and do whatever they can to help them, or often just do something nice for them just because. So if Jeremy became Candace's boyfriend, partner, and then husband, then he would become part of the family and could easily persuade the boys into building something for him to sell and profit off of. By doing this over and over, Jeremy would never have to work a single day in his life. He can do this once every couple of months, and he and Candace would be set for life. And his motive, his reason for doing all this, is actually pretty obvious when you think about it. Jeremy knows just how exhausting an adult's life can be. He's got a menial job that requires him to work the longest of shifts, and
Yeah, but he's never done it once. Like, you don't see him even trying that in the show ever.
he doesn't even pay well. He needs to work the graveyard shift, to give guitar lessons on the side, to play the foot model for a sandal commercial, and even get a fourth job selling ice cream because, after all that, he still can't afford a carriage ride in the park.
Aw.
He knows all too well how tough and unforgiving the world is. He's 16, and he's already working his ass off as if he had a family to support.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
He only likes two things, LARPing
There it is. That's what I was referencing before.
and playing with his band. Even when he had to visit his dad's old college, he was everything but excited. He doesn't look forward to any of those responsibilities or that pressure. He just doesn't want to grow up. Hence why he never showed any real aspirations for the future. Candace wants to become a model, an actress, and a singer. She wants it all and wants to grow up
To be... Oh, not to be...
as soon as possible, but Jeremy doesn't even want his band to become famous. He just wants an easy life and to chill his way through it. So what better way than to live off of the efforts of his future brothers-in-law, relying on them for financial security? And if you think he would never do such a thing, then let's take a look.
Oh, shit! Yo, I just realized... Ferb ends up with Vanessa, and Candace ends up with Jeremy, so... Doofenshmirtz and Jeremy are technically family by the end of the show.
Look at the episode Nerdy Dancing.
Yeah, that's cool. That dude who taught him guitar lessons that one time.
Basically, the only episode where Jeremy is in the undisputed center of attention. Here Candace signs up Jeremy to be her dancing partner on a hit dance show, but since the guy can't really dance, he goes up to the boys to ask for help. But notice how sneaky he is about it, manipulating the conversation so that the boys come up with the idea of building an invention to help him out.
What's the haps, big guy?
Oh, man. Your sister's entered us in some big dance show, and, you know, I just don't want to let her down.
Have you seen the fancy dancing on the show?
There's no way I can learn that by tonight.
Everything about his tone and the words he uses highlights how he's planting the idea in Phineas's mind without making it seem he directly asked them for help. How could he, after all? He's talking the boys into deceiving their sister. He has to be smart about it. In fact, Phineas keeps trying to motivate Jeremy, telling him that he can totally just dance himself, he's totally good enough. Then he even suggests that Ferb could actually teach him, and only then, after Jeremy finds a flaw in every one of Phineas's ideas, does the kid suggest building him an electronic exoskeleton that dances in his place.
The Ferbulistic Groovatron 9000.
How's that supposed to help me?
How is that supposed to help me? He acts all snarky and annoyed with the boys,
Wow.
as if he wants to show them how detached
What's-
he is.
what's
This is the
this
first
dude's
time
name?
Jeremy's a protagonist,
Jegcopo.
and
He
the story is
hates
from
Jeremy,
his
holy
perspective,
shit.
and it's also the first time he's a stuck-up jerk. It's as if he wanted the boys to prove him wrong, questioning their abilities. He's already got Candace wrapped around his finger, and he seems pretty darn good at manipulating Phineas and Ferb too. It probably won't be hard for him to get them to build stuff for him to sell, and for their sister to go along with it. But honestly, the most suspicious thing Jeremy ever did in the entire show was in the episode Not My Problem, when he clearly made up a story so convoluted and improbable, yet so very convenient, just so he could look good in Candace and her family's eyes. In this episode, Jeremy hands Candace a safe containing a mysterious object and hopes Phineas and Ferb can open it for him. He says he forgot the combination and can't remember what's inside. So instead of trying to open it himself, he even admits he didn't bother trying, he specifically wants his girlfriend's brothers to handle it. Okay, sure, let's go with it. It's later revealed that the item inside the safe was a chewed pencil that supposedly belonged to Candace. A pencil
Okay.
Jeremy claims Candace lent him in grade school,
Aw.
and because he was so much into her since then, he decided to keep it safe in that safe. Candace, of
cute.
course, finds this adorable, although she doesn't quite remember this pencil ever belonging to her. And doesn't this sound suspicious to you? We're talking about Candace and her obsession with Jeremy, the same Candace who keeps track of the day Jeremy first spoke to her for the first time, again the day he brushed up against her in the hall, or the day he laughed so hard milk came out of his nose. How on earth would she of all people forget about this pencil? That would have been a pretty significant moment, especially given their lack of interactions growing up. You'd imagine the girl would keep track of this and add this event to her Jeremy calendar, but she didn't. Candace doesn't remember about it simply because this never happened. Come on, a chewed pencil, really? It's kinda convenient that the special item that means the world to Jeremy is this vague and basic. The pencil doesn't even have a ducky on top or something distinctive that could trace it back to the girl. That thing could belong to anyone. And it's even more confusing if you factor in that Jeremy said Candace gave it to him in grade school, because those two are not the same age. He's 1 year older than her, and they were never in the same class, so this kinda makes it more improbable that this interaction happened to begin with. It's not impossible, again, but this story is full of holes. Things just don't add up. You say you kept the pencil because you really like Candace, but you also never acknowledged her existence before the summer. You claim the pencil belonged to her when it's the most random object ever and the girl has no recollection of the pencil ever being a thing. You want to open the safe and find out its contents. Would you look at that, a month or so after you and Candace get together. Could have been 5 years ago, no, it's now. Plus, you also just happened to ask her brothers to open it right in front of her instead of doing it yourself at home. It's all a setup. He must have put that pencil in there like this morning, and he came up with this dumb lie minutes before giving Candace the safe. Hence why he doesn't bother getting the pencil back afterwards, or how we later find out that the safe itself was so very easy to open. If this is not a setup, I don't know what is. It's all a ruse he came up with to solidify his perfect facade. If he's later gonna convince the
I mean, I give it to you that it sounds sus, but come on.
boys to build stuff for him and profit off of it, then he truly needs to appear like the perfect boyfriend to their sister. Which is why he always finds a way to come out on top even in the most negative situations. He always manages to reinforce his nice guy act. Like when in the Balgitos, Candace noticed that Jeremy seems to give every
Balgitos.
single one of his friends and loved ones a nickname, except for her. But conveniently enough, when she confronts him about it, he says that he doesn't give her a nickname because he really likes her name.
Nice.
Uh-huh. So you give everyone else a nickname because you don't like their actual names? Including your sister? Your favorite girl, as you like to call her? Or could it be that he doesn't care in the slightest about the girl? This is all business to him. After all, he doesn't give his co-workers and Mr. Slushyburger a nickname because they're not friends, they're not family, he doesn't care about them. And he does the exact same thing with Candace. Or even when Candace saw
I'm
him
not
in Summer
convinced.
Belong to You, suspecting he might have been
Yeah, nah. The one with the Doofenshmirtz is Phineas' dad. That one, it got debunked by the creator, but that one made sense to me. That one convinced me. This one, nah.
flirting with another girl. Jeremy, seeing her trust in him faltering, plays the innocent and goes, Candace, were you spying on me? I would hope my girlfriend would have a little trust in me, making her feel bad for doubting him. The
That's normal.
perfect boyfriend. He does this on a daily basis to play her. He almost seems too good to be true because it's not true. It's all an act. In fact, notice how Jeremy never helped Candace bust her brothers. Stacy, Jenny, Albert, Buford, and even the supercomputer the boys built helped Candace in her busting crusades. Jeremy never did. That's because he's playing both sides with Candace and her brothers. He always supports Candace, following her around when needed, but never does anything to actually incriminate the boys himself, so he doesn't risk turning them against him. He conveniently doesn't take a stand either in favor of or against the boys. He plays it safe. This way, if they do get busted, assuming nothing serious would happen to the boys, then he can say he had nothing to do with it, and he would stay on good terms with them. But if Candace fails, as usual, then he can be the one comforting her, looking like he was on her side all along. It's a win-win situation. I like to imagine Jeremy came up with this whole plan about a day or two after the beginning of summer, especially after he came back home from an exhausting graveyard shift at the Mr. Slushyburger stand in the middle of the woods. I'd like to think he told his father, Jack, about these two kids and their crazy, mind-blowing contraptions, and the dad made him realize just how impressive what the boys do is and how profitable it must be. It was at that moment Jeremy came up with the ultimate plan to never work a single day in his life. He would get closer to Candace and take advantage of her brother's inventions, talking them into building stuff for him and making a profit from it. This would allow him to never worry about work or responsibilities ever again, finally being able to live the charmed life he's always wanted. The only thing he needed was some time to carefully craft this perfect facade and keep up this nice guy act to fool them all, and eventually he succeeded. Or maybe not. This is just a theory after all. A Phineas and Ferb theory. And cut.
Nah, I'm not convinced.
Let me know if you enjoyed this theory and even if you found it original, because you gotta admit it is. Come on.
It is,
I do like the
yes.
final result.
It's a good video. It's a bad theory.
Also, just chill. You don't have to believe it. Although it would be so interesting and such a twist if it was true. A while ago I was thinking that evil may not be hereditary, but if Susie was raised to be such a messed up individual,
That is a wild statement.
then there's a possibility Jeremy's upbringing wasn't that different, and that's how the theory was born. That and the weird story and not my problem. I still don't buy it. If you guys can think of some more evidence supporting this theory, of course, let me know in the comments, and as always, I thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Should have said better. Also, high school romance never lasts that long and always find suspicious. Yeah. Pretty soon we reach a point where the only character without some hidden malicious agenda is Smith. I like the idea that it wasn't just watch. I felt like says Candace's only girlfriend who stuck around longer than a week. That's crazy theory. I'm not convinced, but really good video. I like it.